You know, I thought that this week was going to be chill, that this week wasn't going to have a whole lot going on, that it'd be a pretty dead week. And I erroneously talked about how the Creation Catalyst wouldn't be available until the 19th. That is not true, because I cannot count very well. The Creation Catalyst should, again, unless I'm mistaken again, it should be out next week. Next week is the 8th week of the patch. This is the first week, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Okay, there. See how great I am at counting? So the 8th week, the beginning of the 8th week of patch 9.2 should be next week on the 12th. And as you can see on the thing up there, there has been a recent hotfix, an official word. Equipment purchased from Rafik in Pilgrim's Grace, Zereth Mortis, is now compatible with the Creation Catalyst and can be converted into tier set pieces. Rafik is the sand-worn gear person. And without fail, pretty much every week I've been talking about this. Something, sand-worn gear, make it usable with the Creation Catalyst. Everyone will be happy. And there's been some pushback among fans. There was some pushback among fans about this, asking questions like, why should solo folks, why should the casuals get tier? They're not going to have any use for it. To which my response has usually been something along the lines of, why the fuck is it your problem? What's so bad about that? And I'll tell you this, it's kind of like how people were like carrying on about the Mage Tower. We want it up all the time. Everyone's going to come back. Things are going to be fantastic if they made it permanent, yada, yada, yada. And then this week, was it this week or last week? I don't remember. They did. It is now permanently up. And now everyone's talking about it. Just kidding. Not everyone's really talking about it. And it kind of goes to show how we as human beings tend to fall for stuff like this. When there's friction around things, when there's like a little bit of drama around it, OMG, there's a grind, OMG, it's only going to come for like this short amount of time. We talk about it and we demand things that we want for it. And once we get it, we tend to shut up about it. In this case, though, it's, with the Mage Tower at least, it seems to be a little bit more than just, it seems to be a little bit more than just shutting up about it. It's the fact that it's now evergreen content. It seems like now we can just take advantage of the fact that it's always there. It's not that we don't care about it anymore. Not at all. But it's just that now that it's there whenever we want it to be, now whoever, can prioritize, okay, it's going to be important to me now because I have the time. And that's a luxury that is great to have. But there's also a certain excitement that is now lost because now it's just there. It's not something, it's no longer an event that unifies players, even if temporarily, to be like, all right, guys, girls, let's do it. Let's price gouge and sell heck of stuff for like oodles of gold. Now it's people are going to do it at their own time, which again is good, which is fine. But it takes away that excitement too. It takes away that thrill of, ooh, thank goodness I got it before the thing went away. Now it's not even like the Dark Moon Fair, which comes every month. It's like, oh, cool. Now I can get them Dark Moon dagger thingamajiggers so I can make feasts, which are no longer relevant. But it created like a bit of a, hey, guess what, guys? It's up. It's doing its thing. Now in those little weekly reminders, there's no point for me to mention it because now it's just up all the time. And not to say that it's not special or that it takes things away from it, but from kind of a like this kind of collective human excitement sort of dealy. Obviously, I barely know what I'm talking about here. It just feels like there's a little bit that that goes away from it. And on top of that, now the goalpost has moved. The goalpost of satisfaction of the Mage Tower, because now it's like, now that we got this, now that we have it up, now we can just move on to the next thing. Now it can be like, all right, Blizz, now you need to introduce like new things all the time. You need to bring back the artifact weapon appearances like you did before. And so we're just kind of moving on to the next thing. So it's not even, in a way, it's not even so much, hey, cool, we're excited that this is going to be available all the time. Now it's just like, okay, now it's become tolerable, Blizz. Now it's what it should be. But here's what we really want. I still would have been a fan. I think I still would have been happy enough with a change that made the Mage Tower be up while Time Walking was available. So that'd be like every 3 weeks or so. Or, and this is actually what I kind of prefer, when Legion Time Walking comes up, the Mage Tower's up for a month whenever that thing happens. So it'll overlap with like BC or whichever expansion is, or whatever. But just have it up for a month. Have that month-long period of Mage Tower so people can be like, all right, cool, let's do this. And, people would take that on every couple of months. So it'd be up, I'm not going to do the math, but it would be up for like 3-4 times a year, something like that. So that means, 1/3 of the year it's going to be up. I think that's cool. Well, I think that's okay. But it also still makes it an event that has like a bit of a break. So it'll allow crafters to get excited about stuff. It'll give a season for materials and the economy to kind of rev itself up for like a nice boom of gold redistribution among people who are doing this stuff. Because now I feel like not having up or down time for the Mage Tower, it's going to make that market languish, and I think it already has. Like there's like right now prices are going down, but because prices are going down, big crafting is starting to lose interest in what the Mage Tower did offer back in December, which was like huge profits at the expense of whales for the most part, who were like, OMG FOMO. But now that it's there, now there's that risk of, there's a shortage of materials, or there's a shortage of consumables and yada, 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 because it's just up all the time and the prices are just like not so great. And so it might be harder for people to do the Mage Tower overall, because now they're like, if I want to feel like I can succeed because I'm not as skilled as some other folks, I do feel like I need to get this gear, these gems, these enchants, and blah, blah, blah. Now I gotta get that shit myself. Fuck that. I'm not gonna do it. So I'm just pointing out some risks that come from that. But what does this have to do with the creation catalyst? I'm not sure. I just kind of like diverted to that topic. The creation catalyst is soon going to be the thing that lets everybody get tier. Everybody. Before this expansion, it was before this patch, before this hotfix, it was just raiders. That's it. Only raiders got access to this stuff. Only raiding as an activity. That was the only source. And like weekly event boxes, but those like barely count. But raiding was it. You had to group. You had to stop PvPing. Yeah, you had to do this raid finder shit. Or heroic, mythic, normal raids, whatever. In order to get this gear that you feel like you need because the website told you, or because you saw the things and you're like, oh, dude, that ability thing looks cool. That's awesome. I want that. But I have to do this. Ugh, that sucks. And so we saw PvPers, dungeon folk, more recently, being like, hey, Blizz, we want access to this gear too, because it makes us perform better in the things that we're doing here. Do something about it, right? And for the long time, there's this big old debate between developers and players about what is okay. When is it okay to challenge a player to break out of their normal routine? How okay is it for the best players to be like, yeah, you're going to have to go through all the different pillars of content to get the exact pieces that you need in order to succeed at the highest level. Developers like Ian and whatnot, they've said that. I don't recall exactly when, but I'm like 89% sure that it was said live in a video or an interview or something like that. That there's a point where if you want the best gear, yeah, you're gonna have to go all over the place. I think it was during Battle for Azeroth, I'm pretty sure. Cut till now though, with 9.2, PvPers and dungeon folks, they have a path. It's not the perfectest path, obviously, but now they have a path to get to tier without having to step into a raid at all. That's a very big step, in my opinion. And they get great benefits out of it too, like seeing as how that Mythic Plus gear from Mythic Plus and gear from raids, from PvP, they retain all their important bonuses. They still have, they can still be upgraded, but both kinds of gear. More importantly for PvP, it still has those PvP bonuses, which is fucking pretty sweet. It's very thoughtful of them. I thought it was going to be a kind of like haphazard thing where you'll want to upgrade your gear and then use the creation catalyst or some other whackness like that. But they put in some sort of fangled tech where they can apply those sorts of attributes to tier gear. That's cool. So it's a huge move, and I think it's been understated by a lot of folks that have been part of the discourse here. It's very understated that Blizzard is pivoting pretty hard away from that whole you have to do this in order to get this gear that you want to get in order to perform the way you want to in the thing that you're actually doing. That came out as word salad, but I hope you know what I mean. It just forced people to do things that they don't want to do. And that wasn't cool. So it was great first hearing about that. But then we started to notice, or I started to notice, that it seemed like only season gear was going to apply. And that gear that you would get from zone content, Shadowlands content, Zereth Mortis content, that wouldn't apply. And so that's when I started this conversation. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure other folks have talked about this too. But I don't pay attention to a lot of folks outside of our little bubble. And there were people who responded well to that, but there were people who were pushing back pretty hard. Back to what I was talking about earlier. Why should they get it? What's the point? They don't need it. Again, to which my answer is like, why is that a problem for you? And so my prediction, I guess this is what I was talking, this is why I mentioned the Mage Tower. My prediction is that next week and as time goes on, as more and more solo and casual folk use the Sandworm gear to create tier pieces, top players, people part of the big three, PvP, Raids, Mythic Plus, they're going to be up in arms. I'm totally kidding. They're not going to give a shit. They're not going to say anything. They're not going to care because they're going to quickly realize that, oh, I don't really notice anything that's going on here. What they will notice, though, to a small extent at least, is, okay, so if I want to get my tier fast, I should at least focus on getting one piece of Sandworm gear But otherwise, I'm just gonna slam Mythic Plus and do raids and blah 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 and get that stuff faster. And all I really need to care about is Cosmic Flux. And so that's all. And so that's gonna be kind of the big thing. Like the Creation Catalyst, like the way that it seems to be framed, and the way that it seems to set itself up is this super it's several things. One, it's super bad luck protection. You know, we're going to be 8 weeks into patch 9.2, 7 weeks into this season where people didn't get tier for whatever reason. And they'll finally be able to take whatever gear that they've been hoarding and they can start to convert it one thing at a time. It can be Mythic Zero gear, it can be PvP stuff, it can be Sandborn gear. And they'll be able to, you know, now complete their set just like that. Some would say, many have said, this should have been way faster. It should have come like way sooner. And I think that's what Blizzard is going to observe for a little while. I mean, sure, like we can be like, oh, we're bitching about it, so obviously Blizzard should have put it in sooner. But I think they're going to be looking at different things instead. They're going to be looking at clear rates. They're going to be looking at how loot distribution and just overall luck and RNG has been before the catalyst comes up, and they'll probably adjust things. Maybe in future seasons, future patches, they're going to make more tier drop. Maybe they're going to make it more tradable. There are lots of little things that they can tweak on top of, you know, if they do proceed with another creation catalyst sort of feature, that maybe they'll do it a week sooner, 2 weeks sooner. It really depends. There's a lot of things that the team is going to have to take a look at before making that sort of decision. So I'm sure that when interviews come up, you know, they're going to give some panned answer like, oh, you know, we're going to observe and we're going to see, and there are all these little knobs that we can twist and turn to make things feel better. But we're looking at all these things, and once we come to a decision, then we'll let you know. Which is a very non-answer, but it's also like, bro, we ain't ready to say anything yet. Because if we say anything, you're gonna hold a gun to our heads and bind us to it. So I think this is a big, big win for all players overall. Because now it's going to just be a thing. Now everyone's just going to get access to this tier stuff. And sure, like I said, you know, like with the Mage Tower, people are going to be like, well, now we want this. Now we want more stuff. But Shadowlands isn't over yet. You know, we still have one more season left, apparently. As we have just learned, we still have one more season left. We have what seems to be a lot of experimentation that's gonna happen, and as soon as it's like actually testable, then we can talk about it a little bit more. There was like some stuff about being able to upgrade gear and things like that, but I think once we see it be testable, then we'll be able to speak on it like a lot more. But this is a pretty exciting time, I think. It's a time where, you know, games change. WoW is just a game, right? And things can change with hot fixes, with patches, and yada, yada, yada. But I feel like we're seeing more and more of this turning point. It's a long turn, right? But we're seeing the game take pretty big strides. In spite of the things that we bitch about, and we'll continue to bitch about, we're seeing these big strides for accessibility, for inclusivity, for just getting more access to fun stuff and being able to play with that. One of my biggest critiques of WoW, you know, to speak very broadly, is that while WoW is really fun because we get to play with a lot of these different things to tweak our characters, but it's a pain in the ass to put it all together. It's a pain in the ass for it to finally all get set together because of RNG, because of the grind, because of time gating, because of all sorts of things, all sorts of little things. But once we get it, then it's like, oh, this is cool. I think the challenge that the WoW team sets up for themselves, and some could very legitimately argue that they're making it too much trouble for themselves, is that they try to make the playing field be even as possible for everybody. And I'm not quite sure if that's the best. I'm not entirely sure if that's the best approach, because it just makes a lot of people have to like wait, or makes people like less patient, in favor of not letting the super tryhards not just get all the cool gear and all the awesome things, but use that power to kind of push others down, because we've seen that. We see that regularly. Hey, you wanna get into this run? You better have a 294 item level, buddy. Dude, it's just a normal run. Fuck you, noob. I think this was a great, cool win. And it's a box that can't be closed for anybody. Mythic Plus people, PvP people, P people, they all now have access to tier. If or when tier becomes available in the next expansion, in the next season, that expectation is now going to be there. Everyone gets tier. That's it. There's no closing that box. I think that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited over that. And so I'm going to be a little interested on how that's going to be treated in the future. With regards to solo folks, I guess, specifically. But also, I wonder, the Catalyst is going to be available next week. It's not available now, so it's going to be kind of, like I said earlier, it's going to be a wait and see approach as to how that's going to go. How's it going to play out? And what lessons are Blizzard going to learn in the long run when we get to like the new season, the new tier, whatever, and people have these similar expectations again. Should solo people, are we? Because one big thing about the Catalyst is that people look at it very differently. Like up until now, as we're waiting for this thing to be implemented, like we knew that it was coming, we just weren't sure when, and so folks interpreted the creation Catalyst kind of differently because they knew it was going to happen, and it's like, okay, now we just want it to happen sooner because my RNG has been shit. And I'm really upset, and I want it sooner. Knowing that it's going to come at some point, of course, people are going to want it to come sooner. There's no line where it's going to be okay. They're always going to want it sooner. They're going to want it right away, day one, if possible. And even then, the expectations will not be sated. Some people see this, especially solo people. They will see this as like the method of progression because there's no other way to get these pieces. For everyone else, it's more bad luck protection. For PvPers and Mythic Plusers, it's like, oh yeah, here we go. We can get all the good shit now because, the cool thing for them is that they only really need to get like the pieces, they only really need to get like high item level pieces, and then they can convert like those 272s, 278s into tier pieces. Boom, just like that. That's freaking dope. Raiders don't get screwed exactly because they have more opportunities than others to get tier because they raid. They could just raid other lower difficulties in order to get a set bonus because that is arguably better than the item level of the game that you get. You want to get the set first, then worry about the item level. But Raiders will have kind of like the highest hill to climb, sort of, I feel like Mythic Plus folks, they're going to have like, they're going to win the most from the creation catalyst. Because once you get that first rank, like you're set, you're golden. And then once they lift, and they probably will at some point, once they lift the season cap on Valor, shoot, all bets are off. And the way to go is just fucking get gear from dungeons, and then pump Valor, and then convert it and pump Valor into it. And there you go. This would be kind of cool.